The troopship slows in the gray Atlantic swell. Early morning, January 1944. Cold air cuts across the deck as American soldiers crowd the rail, peering through fog toward an unfamiliar shoreline. Britain. For many of them, this is their first sight of Europe, damp, dark, and nothing like the postcards. Among them stands First Lieutenant Richard D. Winters, 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment, 101st Airborne Division. He does not smile. He studies the coast the way an officer studies a map, already measuring distance, cover, and weather. Winters has crossed the ocean knowing exactly why he is here. Operation Overlord is coming. No date is spoken aloud, but everyone feels it tightening around their ribs. As the ship edges toward Liverpool docks, Winters watches British tugboats slide alongside. Scarred with rust and coal smoke, he hears the low clang of metal, the shout of dock workers. This is not a triumphant arrival. It feels like being swallowed. The men disembark into drizzle. Boots hit stone. Rifles knock against webbing. Winters smells coal fires and wet wool. British civilians watch quietly from behind barriers. No cheering, no waving flags. Their faces are thin, cautious, tired by years of war. Winters notices how blackout curtains still hang in daytime. How buildings carry scars from bombs repaired just enough to stand. A train carries them south toward Aldburn. Inside the carriage, soldiers joke loudly at first about accents. The mud butt. The laughter fades as the countryside rolls past hedgerows, stone fences, narrow roads. Winters watches fields boxed in tight, broken by ditches and trees. He understands immediately, this terrain will kill men who do not respect it. At Aldburn, the regiment marches through mud so thick it sucks at their boots. British children stare from doorways. A few women offer tea. Winters accepts politely, tasting warmth and bitterness. He thanks them, aware of the quiet exchange happening here. Americans full of equipment and confidence. British villagers who already know what bombs sound like at night. Training begins immediately. Winters pushes Easy Company hard. Force marches, night maneuvers, live fire exercises. British Home Guard observes silently. Veterans of Dunkirk and the Blitz. Winters listens when they speak. They warn him about weather, about fog that erases landmarks, about fields that flood without warning. He writes everything down. At night, Winters lies awake in a billet that smells of damp wood and smoke. He hears bombers passing overhead, engines droning east toward Germany. He thinks of the men under his command, farm boys, clerks, students now expected to jump into darkness behind enemy lines. Britain is not a refuge. It is a waiting room before violence. One evening, Winters walks alone along a hedgerow, rain misting his helmet. Church bells ring somewhere distant. He realizes something fundamental. The British are not impressed by Americans because they have already endured what is. The waiting hardens into routine. February turns Britain colder, wetter. Winters watches Easy Company adapt or fail to the land around Aldburn. Mud clings to everything. Weapons rust overnight. Men slip in ditches they cannot see. Winters corrects quietly, relentlessly. He knows Normandy will be worse. Each morning begins before light. Packs are heavier now. Full combat loads. Winters orders forced marches across chalk roads and flooded fields. Some men curse England under their breath. Others fall silent. Winters does not soften the pace. He is not preparing them to admire the countryside. He is preparing them to survive a night drop into occupied France. British instructors arrive to teach close quarters fighting, bayonet drills, silent movement, hand signals. Winters notices the difference immediately. The British speak less. They demonstrate once. They expect understanding. When a sergeant from the Home Guard describes house-to-house fighting during the Blitz, no one jokes. The room listens. Nights belong to planning. Winters studies maps under dim bulbs, tracing hedgerows with his finger. He memorizes crossroads, bridges, church steeples. Intelligence photographs show fields that look harmless from the air. British officers warn him again. Hedgerows are walls. Tanks funnel. Men vanish. Winters circles objectives again and again. He knows his company's task will be to hold ground, not win glory. Letters arrive from home. Winters reads his privately. He answers briefly. There is nothing he can explain without lying. Around him, men write longer letters, hiding fear behind humor. Some tear pages up and start again. Winters notices who writes often and who stops writing altogether. In March, training intensifies. Parachute jumps resume. Cold air slams into faces as men tumble from aircraft over English fields. Winters lands hard more than once, bruised, breathless. He does not complain. He checks his men first. He listens to their doubts. He does not promise safety. British civilians grow used to the Americans. Pubs reopen their doors to uniforms. Winters rarely drinks, but he observes. He hears resentment mixed with gratitude. British men have been fighting since 1939. Americans have arrived late, but they have arrived strong. Winters understands both sides without commenting. One afternoon, a German bomber formation passes high overhead, chased by fighters. Contrails slash the sky. Aldburn residents barely look up. Winters watches closely. He notes the discipline in their indifference. This island has learned endurance. In late April, secrecy tightens. Leaves on hedgerows thicken. Winters notices signs disappear from roads. Guards question unfamiliar faces. Orders arrive marked confidential. Even officers are told only what they need to know. Winters feels the pressure build in his chest. Overlord is no longer an idea. It is a deadline. He gathers Easy Company for a final briefing before movement orders. His voice is calm, controlled. Movement orders arrive without ceremony. Early May 1944, Easy Company packs silently. Trucks roll in under low clouds, engines kept low, headlights hooded. Winters stands at the head count, clipboard damp in his hands. No speeches, no explanations. The men already know what this means. They are driven south toward the coast, past villages they are not allowed to enter. Barbed wire appears along roadsides. Military police check papers twice, sometimes 3 times. Winters notices how Britain changes as they move more guards, fewer civilians, an island tightening its grip on secrets. The trucks stop near Upateri airfield. From this point on, they are sealed off. No letters out, no visitors in. Winters watches fences go up behind them. The men joke at first about prison camps, about being forgotten, but the humor fades when they realize the rules are real. Briefings begin in guarded rooms. For the first time, Winters sees the words printed clearly. Normandy, France. Maps show beaches with code names. Hedgerows marked in red pencil. German strongpoints annotated carefully. Winters studies the drop zones. He recognizes immediately how narrow the margins are. Wind drift, flak, navigation errors. Too many things must go right. Equipment checks become obsessive. Winters inspects every weapon, every parachute harness. He watches men blacken their faces, adjust straps, rehearse movements again and again. Sleep comes in fragments. Engines roar overhead day and night as aircraft assemble. On June 4th, they load planes for the first time. The men sit strapped in, knees touching, sweat mixing with oil and canvas smells. Winters sits among them, saying little. He watches the green light flicker, but the planes do not take off. Weather moves in from the channel. Orders come down the line. Stand down. Relief and frustration collide. Some men curse. Others sit quietly, staring at the floor. Winters says nothing. He understands the danger of impatience. A bad jump night will destroy them before they ever see the enemy. June 5th. The order comes again. This time, it holds. Men receive final briefings. Winters stands before Easy Company, pointing to landmarks they may never see clearly from the air. He reminds them of priorities, rally points, objectives, initiative. If leaders go down, others must step forward. He looks each man in the eye, imprinting faces he may soon lose. At dusk, they dress for combat. Parachutes buckle tight. Weapons are taped to reduce noise. Winters checks his own gear last. He feels the weight of responsibility settle fully now, not fear, but gravity. The aircraft engines warm. The men climb aboard. Inside the fuselage, red lights glow. Someone vomits quietly. Someone else prays. Winters sits rigid, hands resting on his knees, eyes forward. There is no turning back. As the planes lift off, England falls away beneath them. Patchwork fields. Rivers reflecting faint moonlight. Winters looks down through the open door. This island has trained. The aircraft vibrates as it crosses the English coast. Inside the C-47, the red light glows steadily, bathing faces in dull crimson. Winters checks his watch. Time stretches. The men sit shoulder to shoulder, weapons between their knees. Parachute lines brushing helmets. No one speaks now. Every sound, the engines, the slipstream, the clink of metal feels amplified. Flak begins over the channel. At first, distant bursts, then closer. The aircraft shudders as black puffs bloom around them. Winters feels the plane dip and correct. He does not look at the men. He stares forward, steady, knowing fear spreads faster than bullets in a confined space. As they approach the French coast, tracer fire streaks upward. The plane banks sharply. Men grip straps harder. Someone mutters a curse. Winters feels the cold air rush stronger through the open door. He smells cordite. Normandy is no longer theoretical. The red light snaps to green. Go. Men vanish into the dark one by one. Winters moves automatically. He steps into the door, glances once at the chaos below, fields fragmented by hedgerows, Flashes of fire, nothing like the map. Sand jumps. The night swallows him. Wine tears at his chute. He spins, fights the risers, forces control. Tracers whip past. He hits the ground hard, rolling into mud. Pain flares, then fades. Winters cuts free, drags his chute into darkness, listening. Gunfire crackles nearby. Shouts German, then English. He orients by instinct, by training drilled endlessly in England. He checks his weapon, intact. He moves. Men are scattered everywhere, far from the planned drop zone. Winters gathers who he can to, then 3, then more. Faces are pale in the dark, eyes wide. He gives short orders, calm, precise. Easy Company exists again, in fragments. They move through hedgerows that feel like walls. Visibility is measured in feet. Winters feels the land resisting them, exactly as the British warned. Somewhere, mortar thump. A farmhouse burns, lighting the sky briefly, then plunging it back into black. Dawn creeps in slowly, gray and cold. Winters counts heads. Too many are missing. He does not dwell on it. He assigns sectors, posts security. They are behind enemy lines now, with no clear picture of who holds what. A runner arrives with fragmented information. German artillery firing toward Utah Beach, a battery near Brecourt. Manor. Winters recognizes the name from his maps. He understands the significance instantly. Those guns will kill men landing on the beach. Winters does not hesitate. He moves the men into position along a hedgerow overlooking the field near Brecourt Manor, June 6, 1944. The German artillery battery is dug in, along a sunken lane. For 105mm guns firing methodically toward Utah Beach. Each blast is timed. Each shell means more Americans dying on the sand. Winters studies the ground. The lane is protected by trenches, machine gun nests, overlapping fire. It is a textbook defensive position. And Winters has fewer than a dozen men. He assigns roles quickly. No speeches. One squad to provide suppressing fire. Another to move along the trench line. He explains the plan once. Everyone understands. There will be no second briefing. The attack begins with rifle fire and grenades. Winters moves forward with the assault element. Low, fast, using the hedgerow as cover. Dirt explodes around them as German machine guns open up. The sound is deafening at this range. Winters feels rounds crack overhead, snap into earth inches away. They hit the first gun position hard. A grenade drops into the pit. Smoke. Shouting. The gun falls silent. Winters pushes forward immediately. No pause. Momentum matters. The second gun is harder. Germans counterattack from the trench, firing from the hip. Winters directs fire calmly, pointing, signaling, shouting only when necessary. A man goes down. Winters does not look back. He cannot. They clear the position with grenades and rifle fire. Another gun disabled. The artillery fire toward the beach stutters, then resumes from the remaining positions. Winters knows time is bleeding away. Reinforcements arrive, men from other scattered units, drawn by the sound of fighting. Winters integrates them instantly. No ranks questioned. No unit pride. Only function. The third gun is silenced under heavy fire. Smoke hangs thick in the hedgerow lane. Winters feels the burn in his lungs. His hands shake briefly, not from fear, but exhaustion. He forces them still. The fourth gun remains active. Winters leads the final push himself. Fire rips through the trench line. A German soldier charges and falls. Winters throws a grenade, then another. The blast echoes sharp and final. Silence follows. The battery is destroyed. Winters stands in the trench, chest heaving, boots slick with mud and blood. Around him, men stare in disbelief. Fewer than 15 paratroopers have taken out a fortified artillery position that threatened the entire landing. Winters does not celebrate. He orders documents collected, maps, firing tables. He knows intelligence matters as much as ground taken. Only then does he look toward the distant coast. He cannot see Utah Beach. He can only imagine it, men crawling forward under fire that will never come from Brecourt again. But the fight is not over. German forces are already moving. And Easy Company is exposed. By mid-June, the hedgerows have become cages. Easy Company holds its sector near Carentan. The air thick with the smell of damp earth and cordite. The Germans probe constantly, small patrols at first, then heavier pressure. Winters feels the shift before reports confirm it. This is no longer confusion. This is resistance reorganizing. The men dig in deeper. Foxholes fill with water overnight. Sleep comes in minutes, stolen between alarms. Winters moves the line quietly, checking positions, correcting fields of fire. He speaks in low tones. The enemy is close enough now that sound carries. On June 10th, German artillery finds them. Shells crash into the hedgerows with brutal accuracy. Earth collapses inward. Men press themselves flat, teeth clenched, waiting for the next impact. Winters rides the bombardment with them, refusing to move to safer ground. He knows presence matters. When the shelling lifts, infantry follows. Gray figures appear between the hedges, moving fast, disciplined. Machine guns open up. Rifles crack. The fight compresses into yards. Visibility vanishes in smoke and leaves. Winters shifts squads under fire, redirecting men as gaps open. A runner goes down. Another takes his place. Orders are passed hand to shoulder, shouted only when absolutely necessary. This is not the dramatic charge of training films. This is controlled violence, measured in seconds. A German counterattack breaks through on the left. Winters personally leads a small element to seal it, firing from the hip, forcing momentum back into the hedgerow. A man beside him is hit and dragged clear. There is no pause to acknowledge it. Hours later, the attack ebbs. The Germans pull back, leaving silence that feels heavier than noise. Easy Company still holds but barely. Winters takes stock. Ammunition is low. Casualties are higher than he allows himself to count. Relief is promised, but not yet visible. Carentan must be held. The link between the beaches depends on it. As night falls, flares rise again. Winters watches them drift down slowly, illuminating the torn hedgerows in stark white light. Every shadow looks like movement. Every sound tightens the grip on a trigger. Dawn breaks without warmth. June 11, 1944. The fog lifts slowly off the low ground around Carentan, revealing fields torn apart by shellfire and churned boots. Winters studies the line again. Easy Company has held through the night, but barely. The men look hollow, eyes red, hands raw, movements automatic. German pressure resumes almost immediately. Mortar first, then probing infantry, testing for weakness. Winters senses the pattern. This is preparation. Something larger is forming. Mid-morning, the attack comes in force. German infantry advances from multiple directions, supported by machine guns dug in across open ground. The hedgerows that once protected Easy Company now trap them, channeling fire and movement into deadly funnels. Winters shifts men again, committing his last reserves. Ammunition is rationed shot by shot. A machine gun jams. A runner is sent for more belts and does not return. Winters steps into the gap, firing deliberately, buying seconds that feel like minutes. The line bends but does not break. Then armored engines rumble in the distance. German assault guns, low silhouettes moving behind infantry screens. Winters feels a knot tighten. Easy Company has no anti-tank weapons in position. If the armor reaches the hedgerows, the line will collapse. He orders smoke deployed. Visibility drops to chaos. Men fire at sound and shadow. Winters moves through it, shouting short commands, pulling men back yard by yard, trading ground for time. This is not retreat. It is survival. At the edge of the line, Winters spots movement, American uniforms advancing through the haze. Relief elements at last. Rifle fire intensifies as fresh troops slam into the fight, stabilizing the front just as German armor hesitates. The Germans pull back again, unwilling to push blind into reinforced resistance. Silence returns, broken only by wounded men and the hiss of smoke drifting away. Carentan holds. Winters leans against a hedgerow, breathing hard. His uniform is stiff with mud and sweat. He feels the delayed tremor in his hands now. The cost of sustained command under fire. He forces it down. There is still work to do. Orders arrive. Prepare to move forward. The bridge between Utah and Omaha must be secured completely. Easy Company will advance again. Winters looks over the men who remain. Fewer faces, familiar gaps. He says nothing unnecessary. They understand. The battle for Normandy is far from finished, and Easy Company will not be leaving the hedgerows anytime soon. The advance resumes under a low, colorless sky. Mid-June presses on, and Normandy refuses to loosen its grip. Easy Company moves cautiously through shattered fields beyond Carentan. Every step measured, every hedgerow treated as a potential ambush. Winters walks near the front now, not out of bravado, but necessity. Control is harder to maintain as the front stretches and blurs. German resistance stiffens again. This ground matters. Road junctions, farm complexes, sunken lanes, each becomes a small battle. Winters orders flanking movements instead of frontal pushes, remembering the lessons learned in England. The terrain punishes haste. Men disappear into hedgerows and reappear yards away, shouting contact, returning fire. Artillery brackets the fields. Shells land with brutal indifference. Winters drops flat with the men, counting seconds between impacts, reading patterns. He moves them when the fire lifts, always forward, never lingering long enough to be fixed. Casualties accumulate quietly. No dramatic moments. A man hit crossing open ground. Another lost to shrapnel in cover that was not deep enough. Winters records names in his head, knowing paperwork will come later. Right now, movement is survival. By afternoon, they reach a cluster of farm buildings overlooking a narrow road. Intelligence suggests German forces are regrouping nearby. Winters orders a defensive perimeter. Weapons are set, ammunition redistributed. The men dig again, hands raw, movements automatic. The counterattack comes near dusk. German infantry advances under cover of mortar fire, using the same hedgerows Easy Company relies on. The fight collapses into close range almost immediately. Rifles crack. Grenades arc blindly over vegetation. Winters shouts corrections, moves men by touch and voice when sight fails. A section on the right falters. Winters moves there himself, steadying the line, pulling one squad back 10 yards to re-anchor the defense. It works but barely. German fire intensifies, probing for collapse. Then, abruptly, it stops. German units withdraw under cover of darkness, and willing to press further without armor or daylight. Easy Company remains in place, stunned by the sudden quiet. The cost is visible everywhere: discarded gear, blood-darkening soil, men sitting where they fell when the firing ceased. Winters walks the perimeter in fading light. He checks on the wounded. He nods to medics. He does not offer reassurance he cannot guarantee. Above them, Allied aircraft rumble east, unchallenged now. He looks toward the horizon where hedgerows blur into distance. Normandy is being taken but inch by inch, man by man. And Winters knows the hardest truth of command now. Even success leaves scars. Tomorrow, they move again. Morning returns without mercy. The hedgerows are quieter now, but the silence feels deceptive. Easy Company moves again, advancing through ground paid for in blood just days earlier. Normandy is no longer foreign terrain. It is familiar in the worst way: every ditch remembered, every field associated with loss. Winters walks with the men, his pace steady, posture unchanged. To an outside observer, this looks like confidence. Inside, it is discipline holding exhaustion in check. He has learned something Britain taught him months ago. Endurance is not dramatic. It is sustained. The resistance thins as they push forward. German units fall back methodically, trading space for time. Skirmishes still erupt, brief, violent, close, but the front is moving. Villages appear half-emptied, civilians emerging cautiously from cellars as American uniforms pass. Winters acknowledges them with nods only. He knows better than to promise safety. Easy Company is ordered to hold newly taken ground overlooking a narrow road. They dig in again, always digging. The men joke bitterly about it now. Winters allows the humor. It means they are still functioning. As evening approaches, Winters finally receives confirmation. The Utah and Omaha beachheads are linked. Carentan holds. The invasion has survived its most fragile days. The words arrive quietly, passed hand to hand like any other order. Winters absorbs it without reaction. Victory, at this scale, feels abstract. He looks at the men around him, thinner, quieter, changed. He knows exactly what it cost. That night, as sentries take positions, Winters sits alone near a hedgerow. He removes his helmet and sets it beside him. For the first time since England, he allows himself to think backward to Aldburn Mud, to British civilians watching silently, to warnings about terrain and patience and survival. The British were right. War is not won in moments of glory. It is endured. In the distance, artillery rumbles again, farther away now, but not gone. Normandy is only the beginning. France will demand more. So will Holland. So will Germany itself. Winters puts his helmet back on and stands. Easy Company will move again tomorrow, and the waiting of a different kind will begin.